She's truly the freaking best.
Watch this moment carefully, because what you're seeing right here is exactly why Sophie Cunningham has become the second biggest star in the WNBA, not because of her stats, not because of her all-star appearances, but because of moments like this. After a hard-fought victory against the Dallas Wings on a Friday night, while most professional athletes are heading to exclusive clubs or private events, Sophie Cunningham climbed onto the bar at Clayton County's Country Bar in Indianapolis and belted out Toby Keith's courtesy of the Red, White and Blue, with regular fans singing along. This isn't a carefully orchestrated PR moment. This is spontaneous. This is authentic. And in an era where athletes are increasingly distant from their fan bases, this is exactly what makes Sophie Cunningham different. The Indiana Fever had just secured their 8th win in their last 10 games, continuing one of the most remarkable late-season surges in recent WNBA history. And instead of celebrating in some VIP section, Sophie is literally standing on a bar top singing a patriotic anthem with the same people who bought tickets to watch her play hours earlier.
Sophie Cunningham this season has cemented herself as the second biggest star in the WNBA, right behind Caitlin Clark. She's carved out her own section of the fan base, her own section of fandom. Sophie Cunningham has been getting massive support ever since she joined Indiana Fever, and over the last month and a half or so, Sophie Cunningham has really hit a new stratosphere. From the point, going to the UFC event, what she said about sports, men not being in women's sports, the All-Star game, her shoes selling out. Sophie Cunningham, massive star right now. Massive star.
Let's establish something important right from the start. When we talk about Sophie Cunningham as the second biggest star in the WNBA behind Caitlin Clark, we're not just throwing around hyperbole. This is measurable. This is real. Sophie has carved out her own distinct section of the fan base, completely separate from the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. Over the last month and a half, Sophie has hit a new stratosphere of popularity. It started with her appearance at a UFC event, where she made waves. Then came her controversial but honest comments about biological men not belonging in women's sports, a statement that resonated with millions of Americans who felt the same way but rarely heard professional athletes say it out loud. Then the All-Star game happened, where her performance and personality were on full display, and then her signature shoes sold out almost immediately after release. Each of these moments built on the last, creating momentum that has turned Sophie Cunningham from a solid role player into a genuine cultural figure. She's not riding Caitlin's coattails. She's building her own brand, her own following, her own legacy.
Sophie Cunningham went from the hardwood to the bar top on Friday night. Hours after the Fever's 98-87 victory over the Wings, Cunningham went viral on social media after she climbed atop the bar at Clayton County's Country Bar in Indianapolis and belted out Toby Keith's courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue as the crowd sang along. The performance came after Cunningham helped the Fever continue their late-season surge with her 8th win in their last 10 games, giving her another viral moment away from the court. Oh, we got it. Wow, she's just literally hanging out there. She's literally just hanging out. Oh, gosh.
Here's what makes that bar moment so significant from a business perspective. The Indiana Fever front office gave Sophie Cunningham a 1-year deal. 1 year. Look at the support she's generating in Indianapolis. Look at the genuine connection she's built with this fan base. Look at the merchandise sales, the social media engagement, the viral moments that keep the Fever relevant even on off days. And the front office gave her a 1-year contract. From a pure business standpoint, this is borderline malpractice. The Fever have stumbled into a golden situation. They have Caitlin Clark, the biggest draw in women's basketball history, bringing in record ratings and selling out arenas. And they have Sophie Cunningham, who has somehow managed to create her own parallel fan base that overlaps with but isn't entirely dependent on Caitlin's popularity. This is the gravy train. This is printing money. This is exactly what every professional sports franchise dreams of having. Two stars with different but complementary appeal, both generating revenue, both driving engagement, both making the team culturally relevant. And they locked up Sophie for just 1 year. The Fever need to do whatever it takes this offseason to retain Sophie Cunningham. If that means moving other pieces, you move them. If that means restructuring contracts, you restructure. Lexi Hall, for example, is making significant money while underperforming and seemingly more focused on her makeup brand than her on-court production. Sophie is outplaying her from the bench. The choice should be obvious. You keep the player who's actually producing and connecting with fans. You keep the player who's showing up in viral moments that extend your brand reach beyond traditional basketball audiences.
Part just gets better with each clip. It's her birthday tomorrow and she'll be old enough to be a U.S. Senator, just saying. It's true, Sophie Cunningham loves America. She is absolutely amazing. She's beyond hilarious. Well, that just started my 60th birthday off with a bang. Is it wrong to have a girl crush on her, even if we're both straight? I love her. Yeah, Sophie Cunningham's turned into America's sweetheart, national treasure. She really is carving out her own individual fan base. She really has done a great job of carving out her own individual fan base, and you saw it with her shoe selling, with her player exclusive selling.
Look at these fan reactions to the bar video. She is truly America's sweetheart. Just gets better with each clip. She is absolutely amazing, beyond hilarious. Is it wrong to have a girl crush on her even if we're both straight? I love her. These aren't casual comments from passive viewers. These are passionate endorsements from people who feel a genuine connection to Sophie as a person, not just as a basketball player. This is the kind of fan loyalty that transcends sports. This is the kind of fan loyalty that drives merchandise sales, ticket purchases, and long-term engagement with the franchise. Sophie has become what marketing executives call a national treasure in the eyes of her supporters. She's carved out her own individual fan base that extends well beyond traditional WNBA audiences. You saw it immediately when her player-exclusive shoes sold out. XXY Athletics, her apparel sponsor, has reportedly seen a massive spike in sales since Sophie's comments about protecting women's sports went public. She's not just moving product within the existing WNBA fan base. She's bringing new customers, new fans, new attention from demographics that previously had zero interest in women's basketball. That's the definition of a star. That's someone who expands the market, rather than just serving the existing market.
Folks, it's cool when they don't try to hide from the public, when they don't try to shield off from the public, act like they're bigger than the public, when they actually ingratiate themselves with their fan. It is a big deal, and it goes a long way to for fans. 100%. Cunningham has made headlines of late after she addressed the topic of transgender athletes competing in women's sports in a bombshell interview with ESPN last month. Quote, "I got a lot of negative feedback about me hating trans. I'm like, I never once said that. I think that I'm here to extend love, but I also think that with love is truth, being honest, and I want to protect young girls in a locker room." Since then, we've had an NBA player come out and declare.
Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. Sophie Cunningham made headlines last month when she addressed transgender athletes in women's sports during an interview with ESPN. Her quote was measured but firm. "I got a lot of negative feedback about me hating trans. I never once said that. I think that I'm here to extend love, but I also think that with love is truth and being honest, and I want to protect young girls in a locker room." Notice what she did there. She didn't attack anyone. She didn't use inflammatory language. She simply stated her position. Biological males should not compete in women's sports, and young girls deserve protected spaces in locker rooms. This is not a radical position. This is shared by the overwhelming majority of Americans across the political spectrum. But in professional sports, where athletes are often advised to stay silent on controversial topics, Sophie's willingness to speak plainly was remarkable. The backlash was immediate and predictable. The usual suspects on social media accused her of being hateful, transphobic, bigoted, But something interesting happened. The backlash was overwhelmed by support. Millions of people, many of whom had never heard of Sophie Cunningham before, rallied behind her. They bought her merchandise. They followed her on social media. They showed up to Fever games. They turned her into a symbol of something larger than basketball. Whether you agree with her position or not, you have to acknowledge the courage it took to say it. Professional athletes have lost endorsements, been suspended, been ostracized for expressing opinions that deviate from approved narratives. Sophie said what she believed, stood by it, and has been rewarded with a massive expansion of her fan base.
And here's Enes Kanter, one of those former NBA players, giving Sophie Cunningham the flowers that she deserves.
But I think this game gives you so much that you can use that as a message, and you can use your platform to be the voice of all those innocent people out there who don't have a voice. And I think that's what Sophie Cunningham doing, and I'm a big fan of her, especially when she posted that thing and said, "I said what I said." I was like, this is the player that I want to be like one day.
Yep. She talked the talk, and she walked the walk.
Yeah, of course. So she's becoming a role model off the court as well. That's what I care about. Obviously, you can go in the game and score 30, 40 points, and once your career is over, no one's going to remember you. She's actually pushing people to think. But hey, if I ever meet her down the line, I'm dunking on her.
This is Enes Kanter Freedom, the former NBA player who became famous for using his platform to speak out on human rights issues, particularly regarding China and Turkey. He's interviewed here by Bruce Pearl, and he's giving Sophie Cunningham the ultimate compliment from someone who understands exactly what she's going through. "I'm a big fan of her," Kanter says, especially when she posted that thing and said, "I said what I said." I was like, this is the player that I want to be like one day. She talked the talk, she walked the walk. Think about what Kanter is saying here. He's a professional athlete who sacrificed his NBA career because he refused to stay silent about issues he cared about. He was effectively blackballed from the league for criticizing China's human rights record and calling out NBA hypocrisy on social justice issues. He changed his name to Freedom as a statement, and he's looking at Sophie Cunningham as a role model. She's becoming a role model off the court as well, Kanter explains. Obviously, you can go in the game and score 30, 40 points, and once your career is over, no one's going to remember you. She's actually pushing people to think. That last line is crucial. She's pushing people to think. Not just react, not just consume content, but actually think about important issues. That's what separates athletes who are merely famous from athletes who are genuinely influential. Sophie has crossed that threshold. She's no longer just a basketball player with a following. She's a cultural figure who's using her platform to engage with substantive issues that matter to millions of people.
Support right now, and of course, the trolls are already out. Having fun, of course. Stephanie White hearing that Sophie Cunningham was singing courtesy of the red, white, and blue after the game last night.
Go to who? Go to who?
you absolutely... It's funny. Sophie Cunningham belts out patriotic classic at Indiana bar after Fever win.
Here's the reality that the WNBA establishment doesn't want to acknowledge. Sophie Cunningham's popularity surge isn't happening despite her controversial comments. It's happening because of them. For years, the WNBA has struggled with a fundamental problem. The league's public image and marketing has been dominated by progressive activism that appeals to a very narrow demographic, while alienating the much larger mainstream sports audience. Fans who just want to watch basketball, who don't want every game turned into a political statement, who don't want to be lectured about social issues, have largely tuned out. The ratings reflected this. Before Caitlin Clark arrived, WNBA games were drawing fewer viewers than college softball. Then Caitlin showed up and brought millions of new fans with her. Mainstream sports fans, families, people who just wanted to watch an exciting, talented player compete at the highest level, and the league's response was revealing. Instead of embracing these new fans, certain players and media figures attacked them, called them racist, called them homophobic, dismissed them as the dark side, created an actively hostile environment for the very people who were finally paying attention to the WNBA. Sophie Cunningham represents the opposite approach. She's welcoming to new fans. She's authentic. She's willing to express opinions that resonate with mainstream America rather than just the progressive activist base. And she's being rewarded for it with genuine popularity that extends far beyond the traditional WNBA audience. The bar video is perfect evidence of this. She's not performing for cameras. She's not trying to go viral. She's just being herself, celebrating with regular fans, singing a patriotic song that most Americans love, and it's resonating because it's real.
Look at the star that Sophie Cunningham is right now. Look at the support that she has in Indiana, and these goofballs in the front office really only gave her a 1-year deal. Wow. You can't make this stuff.
Look at Sophie Cunningham's star power right now. Look at the support she has in Indiana specifically. The Fever have built something special in Indianapolis, and Sophie is a crucial part of that formula. The front office absolutely cannot afford to let her walk in free agency. Not just because she's a good player, though she is. Not just because she's popular, though she is. But because she represents something that the Fever desperately need as they build around Caitlin Clark for the long term. Caitlin is the superstar, the generational talent, the player who will define this era of WNBA basketball. But Caitlin is also relatively quiet, relatively reserved, relatively careful with her public statements. She plays basketball at an elite level and mostly stays out of controversies. That's fine, that's her personality, but every successful team needs different personality types. Every successful franchise needs players who connect with different segments of the fan base. Sophie provides something Caitlin doesn't. She's outspoken, she's bold, she's willing to engage with controversial topics. She creates viral moments off the court that keep the team in the public conversation even during the offseason. From a pure business perspective, the Fever would be insane to let Sophie leave. She's a marketing goldmine. She's driving merchandise sales. She's bringing in fans who might not otherwise care about the WNBA. She's creating the kind of organic, authentic content that you literally cannot buy with any advertising budget. And she's doing it all while being a genuinely good teammate and solid contributor on the court. The Fever need to back up the money truck and give Sophie whatever she wants to stay in Indianapolis. If that means moving other pieces, you move them. If that means restructuring the roster, you restructure. You do not let a player like Sophie Cunningham walk away over money when she's generating this much value for your franchise. The trolls are already having fun with this, joking about how Stephanie White, the Fever's coach, must be reacting to Sophie singing patriotic songs at bars after games. But here's the thing, if Stephanie White is smart, she's thrilled about this. Because what Sophie is doing is building a deeper connection between the team and the community. She's making Fever basketball part of the cultural fabric of Indianapolis. She's giving fans reasons to care beyond just wins and losses. That's invaluable for a franchise trying to build long-term success and sustainability. Here's what makes Sophie Cunningham's rise particularly significant in the broader context of the WNBA's evolution. For years, the league has struggled with identity issues. Is it a basketball league that happens to have progressive values? Or is it a progressive activist organization that happens to play basketball? That tension has created real problems for the league's growth. Fans who just want to watch sports have felt alienated. Corporate sponsors have been hesitant to fully commit because they don't want to wade into political controversies. And the ratings have reflected this fundamental confusion about what the WNBA is trying to be. Caitlin Clark's arrival changed the conversation dramatically. Suddenly, millions of people were watching WNBA games who had never watched before. Suddenly, the league was getting mainstream sports media coverage instead of just niche progressive media coverage. Suddenly, there was real money flowing into the league from new sponsors and media deals. But this created a new tension. The traditional WNBA fan base, which skews heavily progressive and activist-oriented, felt threatened by these new fans. You saw it in the way certain players and commentators talked about the dark side of Caitlin's fan base. You saw it in the way new fans were immediately accused of racism and homophobia simply for being excited about Caitlin. You saw it in the resistance to acknowledging that Caitlin was the primary driver of the league's newfound popularity. Sophie Cunningham has navigated this tension brilliantly. She's teammates with Caitlin, so she benefits from the attention Caitlin brings. But she's also carved out her own identity that appeals to many of those same new fans for different reasons. She's not trying to be Caitlin. She's not competing with Caitlin. She's complimenting Caitlin by offering a different type of appeal. Caitlin brings elite basketball skill and exciting gameplay. Sophie brings personality, authenticity, and willingness to engage with cultural issues that matter to mainstream America. The combination is powerful. A casual sports fan might start watching Fever games because of Caitlin's incredible passing and shooting, but they'll become invested in the team because of the overall personality and culture, which Sophie contributes to significantly. They'll buy Fever merchandise not just because of Caitlyn, but because they feel a genuine connection to multiple players on the roster. They'll follow the team in the offseason because Sophie is creating content and moments that keep them engaged even when games aren't being played. This is how you build a sustainable fan base, not by relying entirely on one superstar, no matter how talented, but by creating a roster full of players who each appeal to different segments of the potential audience. The Fever are accidentally stumbling into the perfect formula here. They have Caitlyn for the basketball purists and the people who just want to watch elite talent. They have Sophie for the fans who want personality and cultural engagement. They have other role players who contribute in different ways. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. But here's the critical point. This only works if the Fever actually retain these players. Caitlyn is under contract for years, so she's not going anywhere. But Sophie is on a one-year deal. If she leaves in free agency, the Fever lose a crucial piece of what makes their current formula work. They lose the personality, they lose the cultural engagement, they lose the viral moments, they lose the segment of their fan base that connects more with Sophie than with Caitlyn. That would be a disaster for a franchise that's finally, after years of mediocrity, building something special. The financial argument for keeping Sophie is overwhelming. Yes, you have to pay her more than she's making now. Yes, that might mean making difficult decisions about other players on the roster, but the return on investment is obvious. Sophie is driving revenue through merchandise sales, ticket sales, and general fan engagement at a level that far exceeds her current salary. She's bringing value to the franchise that goes well beyond her on-court statistics. Any competent front office would recognize this and act accordingly. The cultural argument is equally strong. Indianapolis has embraced this Fever team in a way